Mayor Olivia Chow is speaking now. Let's listen in.
Plan has. Residents expect us to do better, and we must do better. I'm asking the city manager to review the city heat relief strategy by the last quarter of this year, including looking at options to restore previously offered 24/7 cooling centers. I'm asking staff to determine high priority locations for surge capacity water trucks. Right now, these water trucks are in Nathan Phillips Square, Sankofa Square. There might be other areas that we need these water trucks, so let's look at it. And I'm asking residents to stay inside whenever it's possible, drink a lot of water, stay cool. If you know of folks that live alone and might be at risk, go check on them, give them a call or knock on their doors if you live in the same building with them. Let's take care of each other, and we'll get through this together. With that, I'm happy to take your questions.
Mayor, you said in your statement it's obvious that pools need to be open during a heat wave. Who is that not obvious to on Sunday?
Well, it seems like that the City of Toronto health and safety protocol kicked in as mandated by the provincial government. The Ministry of Labor have an employment standard branch, and that the employment standard branch said that there needs to be safety protocol. We need to protect the lifeguards. And when the Humidex went to a certain 40 plus, then some of the pools that got too hot, perhaps because they didn't have shade structure, then the lifeguards took a longer break, which in some cases quite a few hours, and then they opened it up after. But the problem is that during the time that they were closed, that the residents are not able to go to them, right? So the Parks and Recreation Department needs to see that in advance. And now, a lot of those pools are opened up a week earlier, a week and a half ago. I said all the pools will be open by the end of June. We're not there yet, so there's a group of pools that are pulled forward to open now immediately because of the heat waves, and perhaps they can be better prepared.
Shouldn't your administration have been prepared?
Well, we were very prepared for it. We announced that there would be pool opening, and they were 85 of them were open. There were a few at one point, 15. And then became 5. Some were open. They were closed for 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. They were technically open. They just had a closure period. They were longer because the lifeguards were feeling really hot. Now, under the health and safety protocol, they are entitled to do that. We could, if we are allowed to send paramedics to go and check, we can then reopen them. So that is working it out between the city and the provincial government, which is now happening.
Literally every day, thousands of city workers work outside. Parks people, construction people, and they work in the heat. I'm sure you've done speeches in blazing hot heat.
I have.
Yeah, and you don't say, I'm not going to do it because I'm too hot. Isn't it ridiculous that none of these people have pools to jump into? That people who literally have somewhere to cool down can't do their job in the heat.
I agree that they could have jumped into the pool and cooled down and come back out. And we could have provided some extra support. By the time we found out about it, when it was closed, we immediately swung into action, which is why the number of pools, now 85 of them were open, okay? So, and then the numbers that they were closed for a few hours, then became smaller and smaller and became 5 at the time, like, later afternoon.
A couple of questions that the Premier posed today. One, if 5 were closed, why were they not all closed? Like, why 5?
There are some that are not as hot as others. The concrete, it could be concrete. Some other places have shade structure, and it didn't need to, right? So it depends on the structure of the pools. It depends on how much concretes are around them. Some are, structured differently. We are at this point working together with the provincial government, the city government and provincial government, working to make sure that we don't have that happening again. We want to maintain the straightest rest regimen, right? So to make sure these lifeguards, they're very young, a lot of them. And some of them, they just got started, right? Because they're not supposed to start till first week of July. Now they just all of a sudden being thrown into it and they go, whoa, what? So under those circumstances, I understand that. We want to make sure there's shade structure in every lifeguard station and that they're being used, and that educate our staff on how to deal with heat, and there's cooling opportunities, and dipping in the pool during rest periods. Absolutely, they could do that. They're allowed to do that, by the way.
Because the Premier also said on the air, this is a poor excuse. Your response to that?
Of closing the pool?
Yeah.
Yeah. The city did not, under the Health and Safety Act, Ministry of Labor said that you have to have a protocol that you must follow, or else we are violating the employment standard. Understand that. And the employment standard and through the city's protocol said that when the human index is at 40-something, that worker doesn't have to work. Now, should there be exempt of lifeguards, perhaps, or that there be a longer period, and if there is a nurse or paramedics that could rove and support them, that's possible. And remember, all of this are worked out with the Ministry of Labor, right? These protocols are established previously, and we're working with the paramedic service to have them available to visit pools proactively, to check on the staff, make sure the participants are fine, and the staff is fine. These are lifeguards that are under extreme heat for a long period of time, right?
I'm just going to ask for a couple of questions here, and then we can circle back if there's time at the end.
Okay. Well, I was just going to ask about cooling centers. You mentioned that there's 45, I think you said.
There are 500 spots that are, yeah. 545 cooling spaces that, and community centers and civic centers. I'm asking the staff to look at making them 24/7. Because library closed. When library closed, then where do you go in the evening? And at night, it gets really hot.
Some of the city's unhoused people that are dealing with the heat right now. I guess maybe some of them are going to places like some of the community centers where they're maybe not feeling as welcome. What are you doing to mitigate that?
We are, whether you're housed or unhoused, we want to make sure everyone is safe, which is why we have these water bottles that we can provide. Okay, water we can provide, whether it's water trucks or bottles. We are also opening up more shelter spaces to bring people indoor. We are saying at this time, come inside. Libraries, community centers, they're all open. But
So you are more shelter spaces
We are opening 100 more shelter spaces to bring people inside. It's when you're so hot, it is it's difficult, and especially when it gets later in the afternoon, when the heats are trapped inside, the later it is in the evening, the hotter it is, and it makes it really hard to sleep, to rest, which is why I want to look at cooling centers that's 24/7, and not just a community center or library that would close.
Report back on the feasibility of 24/7 cooling centers by Q4, which I believe it would be October. The same as the maximum temperature bylaw. What do you have to say to residents who are unsafe in their housing right now?
The Q4 might be at latest, okay? It could be earlier. We are looking at, well, the city is providing most vulnerable seniors with air conditioners, which we are trying to install. And we are looking at declaring and asking companies that own a lot of the apartment buildings that do not have air conditioning, we're asking them to please install the units. Whether we can make it mandatory or not, at this point we cannot, not yet. So we'll have to look at whether we establish a bylaw to force companies to install air conditioning units.
We have time for a couple more.
Your statement just now mentioned serious gaps in the heat relief strategy. Why are you discovering these gaps now during a heat wave? You know, we have heat waves every single summer.
I wouldn't say it's a serious gaps. There are gaps, and the two that is that I think are important to deal with is the 24/7, the cooling spots, and water trucks in different places, and my meeting with Red Cross Canada is a few days ago, and they are actively bringing volunteers together to visit and do wellness checks. We provided a list of apartments through Rent Safe program that are known to have more vulnerable people living in it and with no air conditioning. So we provided that list to Red Cross just 2 days ago, and they're ready, and I think they are out yesterday already, and they probably continue to do that. That will come as an agreement that we have. It will be confirmed at City Council on Wednesday or Thursday. That's important to do because I just met with Red Cross a few days ago. So all of that is happening. It's just some of the legal agreement we'll be signing during council.
Last question.
I do want to clarify because the statement did say serious gaps. Are you changing that now? Are you walking that?
Well, there are gaps, whether it's serious or not. You know, one person not feeling well is serious. One pool that has to close is a serious problem, especially if I'm the ones that are in there, or that I've gone out to, I've taken public transit to get to a pool at a time that I really need to be able to cool down. That is a serious problem for me. So as individual, as Torontonians, not being able to cool down in all the pools, it is a problem. Now, majority of out of the 85 pools, they're all open, and it is only a small number at the height of it, right? In the middle of the day, it should not happen. We should do better. And this year, the heat wave came fast and fury, so we are doing the best we can. Can we do better? Absolutely. Should we? Absolutely. Which is why we are moving ahead to say let's do all these things now. So just to be clear, we are putting in place incident management structure, additional lifeguards for longer breaks, shade structure, and educating our new staff regarding sun and heat relief safety, and bringing in nurses if we need to support these new lifeguards.
Certainly can help.
All right, lots to talk about when it comes to Olivia Chow's comments on Toronto's ongoing heat wave.